message is just do it.
Just do it.
Apple's great. Apple will give you a list of products, but what's their message? You know what Apple's message is?
They're slow. I don't think I do. Think something.
Think different.
Think different.
Everything about their product says it.
Yes.
They don't need to say it.
Yes, they do think different.
Right. And so the idea of having a message to me.
This is the Leo Climaco podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Leo Climaco podcast. My guest today is a coach, a mentor, Benny Salas. Hey,
Yes,
Benny,
sir.
how are you?
Good,
Also
man.
a speaker. I forgot to mention that most important part.
Yes, sir.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here. I didn't know I was going to step into like this amazing place. Like,
Thank you, man. I appreciate
I
that.
thought it was going to be like some rinky dink, no, I'm just kidding.
It used to be. It used to be.
You upgraded recently?
Yes.
For
we
me? You upgraded for me?
Just for you,
I
man. I
appreciate
knew you
that.
were coming.
Appreciate that.
Benny, where are you from?
Originally born and raised in Chicago, and my parents are Mexican and Puerto Rican descent.
What an awesome mix.
Yeah, it is. But I look nothing like it. So the standing joke is, tell me who my real father is. Like, is he some rich guy in Dubai? If he is, explains the beard. But no, Mexican, Puerto Rican. It was interesting. Like growing up in a Mexican, Puerto Rican home, you have like tamales with arroz con gandules.
Yes.
So it's like really weird.
That's awesome.
So you get to like
And delicious.
Yeah, Thanksgiving was the best. Like we had the best of like everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no complaints here.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you get into speaking and coaching?
Man. So I would say speaking for me started way before I even started speaking. So I used to be in the performing arts when I was a child. And in Chicago, we got introduced to the performing arts. It was Spanish dance, and it was a way to keep us off the streets.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So there was
Was that like high school?
it was 7th, 8th grade. It was
Okay.
a company
Middle school,
called the
yeah, yeah.
Ensemble Español. And they came to our school and was like, hey, you know what? We want to work with kids.
That's awesome.
And so this was a way of keeping us away from the gangs, away from
Yeah.
the drugs. Because in Chicago, I grew up in a very, very gang-infested, tough area. Like most people don't make it out of there, or they do, and they never go back.
Wow.
And so this was a way to keep us off the streets. So the performing arts was something that was groomed in me, and I was actually really good at performing. I felt comfortable with the stage.
That's awesome.
And then I got the opportunity in...
Were you dancing?
Yeah, it was performing arts,
Yeah.
dance. And I literally went to high school on a performing arts scholarship, went to a very
That's
good
incredible.
school in Chicago.
Man, I
And-
had a similar opportunity at 13 to go do ballet in New York, and my
Yeah.
dad said no.
Yeah, I know, right? My dad was like, I don't know about that. But at the same time, it was like, my mom was like all for it because it was a great opportunity for us to like really,
Yes.
be groomed in something that normally we're not exposed to, right?
Right.
So after doing that, I got involved in ministry. Work.
That's awesome.
Fell in love with the idea of like the church just really being this place where I could like learn about God. And then they gave me a microphone.
What made you go to the church? Do you have
Well,
an experience? Did you
yeah,
find God in a way?
I would say I had an encounter when I was about 15, but my grandmother she was a strong woman of faith. And then I came to a place where I was like, hey, I need to find God for myself. And it was like I was doing the performing arts, and then I was kind of growing as like this like leader, right? And I would say I've always been the leader type. I've always been the person that was always willing to step up and do something significant or do something big.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity came when I was about 19 years old, and I'll share the picture with you. And I got an opportunity to speak in front of an audience, and I really saw something about the way I felt comfortable with the
At
stage.
church, right?
Yeah, this was like a church event, but
Yeah.
we were going out to like different cities. We were doing these like plays. We had this group that was like very kind of artistic. So I liked it because it was the arts. It was performing.
Got
and it
it.
was still kind of tapping into that skill set that I
Yeah.
had. And then I got an opportunity to speak, and I saw a whole different version of me. I saw that I felt comfortable on the stage. I felt comfortable being able to communicate a message.
That's awesome.
And I mean, there's a whole story behind that because that didn't happen right away. There's a whole story for me that I'll tell you about. But it dealt with abuse, and it dealt with my offender telling me that if you told your parents, they would be mad at you. So think about this: having this side of me that was kind of being groomed
To hold your tongue.
Yeah, to hold my tongue.
Yeah.
And the other part of me wants to express myself, whether it was the arts, whether it was stage,
Right.
whether it was my faith. And so I felt like all throughout my young youth and young adult years, I was trying to reclaim that power, and this was a way for me to do that. This was a way for me to
That's
not
really powerful,
feel
man.
like I was going to be silenced. And so for me, like I was telling somebody earlier today, it was really me taking my power back. It was really me finding my voice. And that was 28 years ago.
Wow.
I've been a professional speaker. I get paid. I travel. I speak at conferences, and it always feels like the first time. I never want to lose that feeling.
You always get butterflies?
Always. People are like, "Oh, I feel nervous." That's a good thing.
Yeah.
The
You're
moment
human,
you're
right?
not nervous, that means you're not expecting anything. But when you are, and you know, hey, God is going to use me in this moment, or something great is about to happen, or I'm about to say something I've never said before. I always tell people, you've never given your greatest message because it's the next one, right? And so keep taking that stage, keep getting in front of people. Like you've done great podcasts, but your next one will probably be your best one.
I agree. I know what you mean. I know
Actually, this is going to be your best
This
one.
is my best
The
one.
best
I
one,
agree.
for
I
sure.
agree.
But yeah.
Your first time on stage.
Yeah.
Was there a script? Did you wing it? How did that go?
So it was a play that we were doing. And
Okay.
part of the play was we would go in afterwards and we'd give some words of encouragement and something spiritual, something significant. And so it was somewhat scripted, and then it was somewhat like, share from your heart kind of deal.
Right.
And I mean, I still have like sermons of me on a CD. I would probably never listen to that stuff. I was probably so bad. I probably wouldn't even listen to myself, right? But that's what happens when you're young and you're starting out. You need those raw,
Yeah.
experiences.
Need the reps.
Yeah, you need the reps. 100.
Yeah.
Speaking is all about the reps.
Yeah.
So I'm always saying yes. I'm always going to say, okay, what's the next opportunity? When's the next stage? Because for me, I want to be put in different situations. I need diversity. I need range. I need margin. I need to be challenged by people who don't know me. And I got 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get them to know, like, and trust me. Challenge accepted.
What made you want to take on this challenge?
I think speaking is the language of the creator. Right?
I heard that this morning.
Yeah.
On a reel that I was looking at.
Yeah. Speaking is the language of the creator.
Yeah.
If God said, "Let there be light," and God spoke this earth into existence, he spoke it.
Yes.
So what could you and I create when we speak? What can we put onto the universe? What can we put onto this world? I think it's much bigger than the stage. Your stage is wherever you set it. If it's a podcast, if it's an ebook, if it's a workshop, a retreat, a keynote, a course, a reel, whatever your stage is.
Right.
The question is, are you taking it? The question is, what do you do when the spotlight's on you? Can you empty yourself up so that you can fill yourself up with something that you can offer the world? Right? And so for me, I see that as an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity to be selfless and say, okay, how can I add value to the world? Because oftentimes we don't do that. We're too busy consuming and not contributing.
Yes.
So for me, it's my greatest contribution.
Were you ever scared, stage fright, any of that sort of thing?
Yeah, I bombed it a few times. One of them at a university, and I've never been invited back. I think I was just too raw.
Okay.
I think I was just too raw. I think that's when I first started to share my story about sexual abuse. And I probably didn't filter it like I do now, right? I did a thing called Mic Drop back in 2018, 2019, and I learned how to share my story. I learned that the details aren't as important as the destination. Where are we going? Right?
What's the point?
Right. That's like you going in the car and saying, how are we going to get there? Do we turn left? Shut up. Don't worry, we're going to get there.
Right.
Just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Right.
That's what we have to do with our stories. We have to help people understand they're on a journey with us. And it can be bumpy. I can go fast. I can go slow. hey, there's going to be some twists and turns. There's going to be some delays. But how do I take that person on that journey? And so, yeah, there are moments where I have felt afraid. There have been moments where I felt like gut wrenching, like I don't want to do this. But at the same time, speakers speak. So we have to know how to accept the challenge. We have to know that this is what we do. This isn't a career move. This is a calling. Much different. When you see it like a career move, it's not going to work. You see it as a calling, you'll understand that you are meant to be put on that stage. You're meant to be in front of that audience. You're meant to give that message. You're meant to tell that story.
You are just bugging me out right now. Because I have been running from the stage for a very long time. I got to tell you.
Most people do. They do.
I've been running from it. I'm someone that used to have the largest stage fright. I used to stutter. I used to have a really bad stuttering problem. And about 3-4 years ago, about 3.5 years ago now, I decided to end it. I'm done living in fear of me stuttering. So I hired a speaking coach, Dave Van Hoos.
A speech coach, right?
Well, he was a speak to sell coach.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Not really a speech coach, but a speak to sell coach that taught me NLP, hypnosis, taught me how to calm my mind down, taught me how to, the importance of tonality, the importance of breathing, the importance of how to tell my story, right? I went through a year program with him. Probably the best money I've spent. Got on stage, spoke in front of 500 people. Then got on a different stage, spoke in front of 500 people. I'm sorry, 1,000 people. And okay, got the hang of it, you know? And but something about the stage still didn't feel comfortable. So I tuned to podcasting. I figured, how can I still speak without having the requirement of that stage presence every so often? So I built the podcast.
Yeah.
But I feel the stage calling me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, bro, get away.
Well, there's a saying that I remember one time I was talking to a client, and a client was telling me about all these like issues they were having with the stage. And then they said, you see, that's why I have a fear of public speaking. And I looked at that client, I said, you don't have a fear of public speaking. You have a fear of the public speaking.
Oh, that's a mic drop. You have a fear of the public speaking.
Your fear isn't what you're going to say.
It's about being embarrassed.
Right. Your fear isn't about what you're going to say. Your fear is about what other people are going to say about you.
Correct.
They're going to comment on your stutter. They're going to comment on your appearance. They're going to think that you didn't graduate high school. Oh, you're a college dropout.
Right.
There's all these fears that people have that have nothing to do with them speaking. But it's so easy to slap, I have a fear of public speaking label on yourself.
Yeah.
And to me, it's a lie.
I agree.
And so one thing that I do in helping people understand this is let's talk about the truth about who you are as a speaker. Let's talk about let's have those conversations. Because if we could talk about that, it's easier to expose the lie.
Right.
Right. And so then we start to reverse engineer that. But it's an important thing to have because, like you said, once you got on that stage, and I think, to be honest with you, this is not an easy stage.
No, it's not.
The podcast is not an easy stage.
No, because you're one-to-one.
Right.
Locked eyes,
exactly.
No cell phones,
Right.
1 hour, we're here chatting.
Right. And so it's a whole different environment.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you've been able to change that and redirect it. But I'm glad that you also said that the stage has been calling you, because I think before you talk on the stage, it actually talks to you.
Yeah.
Right? It actually tells you and shows you, hey, you need to be here.
Yeah.
And I believe that's as people who are building brands, offering products, programs, and services, as people who are trying to, gain somewhat of a following and influence.
Right.
It's important that you
One
get
to
your voice
many
out.
is the way to go.
100%.
Yeah.
You got to get your voice out there.
I was in a speaking tournament. This was, speaking competition, not really a tournament. This was end of 2024. It was in Atlanta. It was a 5-minute, 4-minute, and 3-minute pitch on stage. So I won. Don't know how,
Let's go.
but I won.
I love it.
It was about 12 people competing, and I can't tell you how I did it, but I did it. I took my 90-minute spiel, cut it to 5 minutes, then I cut it to 4, then I cut it to 3. And somehow they liked it. So there were 3 judges, and after every time I went on stage, they would critique me. I think the reason why I won was because I listened to every critique and I changed it.
Yeah.
I didn't ignore. I didn't take it personal. I took it as a learning situation. I made the corrections and I went back on stage and I wowed them because I made those corrections. So I'm good on my feet like that. But yeah, I have to get back on stage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you know what? I think it's a powerful opportunity. I think in today's market,
Yeah.
we need it because there's a lot of folks that are taking stages that are. It's more about. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who are out there are storytelling
Yes.
and not message dropping. I think storytelling.
What's the
is
difference?
great.
Can you break that
Yeah.
down?
So a story is. Think about this. Nike. They tell you a story.
Yeah, just do it.
The message is just do it.
Right.
The message never changes.
Right.
The story changes.
Right.
And so you have to be clear on your message because a lot of people, you'll hear them talk and you'll be like, man, that was a great collection of stories, but what was the message? The message should be clear, concise. To me, your message is like the base, the trunk of the tree, and the stories are the branches. And you branch out these stories to reach here, to reach there, to reach there.
Got it.
But you got to be firm with your message.
So for Nike, the branches would be Michael Jordan, Serena Williams, Tiger
Exactly.
Woods.
Right. All these different stories. But what's
Right.
what's the one singular message? It's just do it.
Just do it.
Apple's great. Apple will give you a list of products, but what's their message? You know what Apple's message is?
They're slow. I don't think I do. Think something.
Think different.
Think different.
Everything about their product says it.
Yes.
They don't
Yes.
need to say it.
Yes, they do think different.
Right. And so the idea of having a message to me, so when people are like, oh, so what's your story? I'm usually asking the question, so what's your message? What's your message? Because when I understand your message, then I know what you do, why you do it, and who you do it for. I can get a better sense of the way you think and why you think that way. Because you're willing to talk about it.
Right.
And so it lands differently.
What's
That's
your-
what I feel like I'm most drawn to.
What's your message?
My message is called Speak More. And that is derived from 2 places. One, as a 9-year-old, telling the counselor, hey, this is the abuse that happened to me. And number 2, sitting in a place where I was asking God a question. And I said, what's my creative gift? And he asked me, he goes, well, how did I create? I said, you spoke. And he said, speak more. And so I developed the Speak More Academy literally from a conversation I had with God. And then as I started to connect the dots, as I started to understand how many people are out there that while they didn't go through what I went through, they went through something different that's not allowing them to speak more.
Yeah.
Think about how many people you've met that have sat in this chair, that has sat in that chair. How many people do you know have a greater message they're not talking about?
Just about all of them.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Right. And so what's holding you back? What do you need to let go of in order to grab a hold of your message?
Probably your lack of self-worth.
Yeah. I tell people all the time, the greatest gift you can give yourself as a speaker is to get out of your own way. You're the problem. You're the problem. Your fear, your imposter syndrome, your labeling. I have a talk it's called Lies, Labels, and Limiting Beliefs. They're not all the same, but there's a progression to why we become imposters. There's a reason why we have a negative mindset.
What is that reason?
Well, I think one is we've either adopted what somebody else put on us, or we've taken control over it and we've just adjusted to it.
Right.
Right? And so part of the lies, labels, and limiting beliefs is all about shifting saboteurs. So in coaching, so I'm an ICF certified professional coach. I've been doing it for 14 years. We deal with a lot with saboteurs, and saboteurs are ways that we judge ourselves. There are 9 main ways that we do it. It's a test called positive intelligence that people take, and we do this all day long. We are our biggest critics. We really don't believe ourselves the way we want others to believe us.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a certain level that of knowledge that people need to feel they have before they get on stage? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like certain level of knowledge.
I
think it's
lead
more
to
about insight.
Okay.
Because you don't have to be knowledgeable about a lot of things, but you can have a lot of insight on a topic and be great.
Right.
So if you have insight, if you have a way to intellectualize something, if you have a way to inspire me, I'm bought in. I'm connected.
How important is what you've done in the past?
Oh man, I think our past shapes our future. I think it has everything to do with it. But what do you do with the lessons? Like, I don't talk about everything in my past. I mean, I have some really bad screw ups. I went through a period of addiction. I went through, looking at facing divorce with my wife. I have a bunch of these things that have happened, but we work through everything. Everything has a season and a timing.
Yeah.
I know some people look at this and they say, well, hey, we all have that. And all that's part of my story. But what's my message? Even in the midst of all that, I still kept going. Even in the midst of that, I didn't quit. I didn't walk out on my family. My wife didn't leave me. I have 2 beautiful children, celebrating 18 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I mean, it's work. It's a lot of work. But you know what I'm saying?
I just celebrated 9.
Yeah,
So.
it's work. So I think that, it's when you ask that question, especially is there a certain level? I mean, we're always going to new levels, right? We're always digging deeper. Sometimes it's not about going wider; it is about going deeper. So you have to go. You have to dig a level below in order to get to a level higher. You have to.
Connecting it to imposter syndrome, though, I feel like most people will have imposter syndrome because they feel like they haven't done enough. They're not experienced enough. They're just starting out, so people might not trust them or see them as credible.
But you know what's funny? They're not. That's the crazy. That's the imposter part. It's like, really? You just started living life? Really? At 30? What have in the last 29 years? That's what they tell themselves. So you're fighting who you're trying to be,
right?
And then who you think others think you should be. That's the imposter. The imposter is you're not you. So of course you're gonna feel like that.
Right.
Of course you're gonna feel a disconnect. Of course you're gonna feel a sense of dissonance when you get up. Because the truth is that you've been practicing not being you for a long time.
Mask on.
Yeah. You act like this happened when you got on stage. This is you've been you for years.
Wow.
What happens is that people get exposed to the reality that they've not been themselves for a long time.
And it's like, who am I, right?
Right. Who am I? Like it just showed up when I got invited to speak or when I got on the pop. Really? Like just all of a sudden it popped? No. You've been like this for a long time. You're now realizing it. See, I believe this. I heard a preacher say this, and it never left me. He goes, revelation is seen for the first time what you've been looking at for a long time.
Say that one more time, please, because that was great.
Revelation is seen for the first time what you've been looking at for a long time.
Wow.
You know you haven't been you. It's now being revealed. And now you don't know what to do. So you reach for imposter syndrome, a fear of public speaking. I'm just this. It's all excuses.
You know, this reminds me of, I went skydiving only once, never go again. But I went skydiving.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever go once. So I won't ever have to go again.
The moment you roll off that plane,
It makes my stomach
there's
turn.
nothing else to hold on to.
That's it.
And you are just, it's just you, baby. It's just you falling. You have
Like,
no
all right,
more excuses.
It's like, here, God, I might meet you today. I might meet God today. You never know. Like,
yes. You have no more excuse to hold on to.
Yeah. Some people, and that's, I think some people can't fathom the human significance of actually letting go.
Yes.
I really don't.
It's hard.
It's hard.
We want to control everything.
It's hard, man. It's chasing your dream. Doing this is not easy
No, it's not.
because you had probably 1,001 excuses and reasons and roadblocks, and I don't have this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that. But it's something powerful. And I was going to say this earlier, and you brought me back to this thought of creating something with what you have. My son taught me this lesson. We buy him like Lego sets. Loves Lego sets.
How old is he?
He's 11.
Okay. Good age.
Yeah, man. What a mouth. Anyways, just like his father.
Gonna be a speaker.
Yeah, just like his father. I'm gonna tell you more about that. So he said to me, "Papi, I built all my Legos, and then he took them apart. Right, all these Legos, and my wife got bins, and he says, "Do you think I could go online and look for instructions for other Lego sets?" I said, "Yeah, why would you want to do that?" He goes, "Because I love to build with what I have." My son taught me the greatest lesson.
Kids are the best.
Best.
They teach us the wildest things.
And he did.
Yeah.
He went, looked at instructions.
That's incredible.
To Legos that he doesn't have and realized, well, what do I have
Right.
that I can imagine building?
Wow. That's powerful. That's incredible.
I'm going to tell you, that message, we'll see. I actually applied for him to do a TEDx Youth in October to give that message.
Really?
I want my son to get on stage, and I want to show him his power.
That's awesome.
I want him to experience
That's happening in August?
October.
October.
Hopefully. We're praying about it. I submitted the application. We'll hear back. It'll be here.
It's going to happen. Let's put it out there.
I'm believing it. I'm believing it. I want this for my son. And I asked him before I said I want it for you, I said, listen, here's an opportunity. What do you think? He says, let's do it. He goes, I don't have a fear of public speaking anymore, Dad, because you helped me with my project. And that's what I want. And we empower him now to find his voice. Actually, his teachers would say something else because he talks back a lot. He found his voice.
He had too much of a voice.
He found too much of his voice. Like, the number one complaint is like, Nehemiah likes to talk back. I'm like, yeah, we trained him. You know, he's going to do TEDx talk. You know what I mean? You might make it. You never know. But it's one of those things that he showed me about fear. He showed me, because I think oftentimes that whole imposter syndrome label, I think so many people are like, they use and abuse it.
Yeah.
And I think it's almost like an imposter to me was always somebody who was trying to be something they're not.
A con man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's you're an imposter. You're somebody who doesn't belong here. Like, you got a mask, you got this.
Right.
So if that is the definition or the idea, what mask are you wearing? Who are you trying to be? And why do you think you're that? So I think there's more conversations to be had around it. And I think if more people had them, they would stop using that as like an excuse.
Right.
Yeah.
And going back to your son for a second, we as adults, we teach that fear onto kids. Mm-hmm. And if we don't teach it, they won't have it.
100%.
Right? They won't know it. They're going to go right through life thinking that they can take on the world.
Yeah, I think some stuff is also just hereditary too, man. I mean, I see behaviors in my kids where I'm like, we didn't teach them that.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, dang it, they're just like us. We didn't teach them that. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think it's both practical. I think it's spiritual.
Nature, nurture, right?
Yeah, nature, nurture. It's mental, physical, emotional, relational. There's all these human complexities that are all moving at the same speed. And here we are trying to navigate our lives so that our kids can figure out theirs. It's crazy.
And a lot of us are barely adults.
I'm still trying to grow up.
We're overgrown children.
Like, I'm just a big kid. Like, I'm like, I never want to grow up. But yeah, you're right. 100%.
Having kids.
Yeah, 100%.
Benny, what's the difference between speaking to sell and speaking to impact and have a story and have a message? Is there a difference?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. There's a threefold model that I look at, and it's called tell, compel, or sell.
Tell, compel, or sell.
Yeah, those are three ways that I think you will draw somebody in. Some people want to be sold. They want it straight. You know, like, don't give me no fluff. Don't give me no story. What does it cost? And I'll determine the value. Perfect. Some people want it to be told to them, so they need it to. You got to tell it, right? Here's what it is. And some people want to be compelled. They want you to connect with their heart. Not everybody's the same. So I believe that when you are speaking, and according to what you said, speaking to sell, I think we're always selling. Now, I don't like to be salesy.
Right. Always be closing?
Yeah. I don't like to be, if I got to force it, I lose interest. I want somebody to want it.
Right.
I want to be able to show them value because I'm not the rock star of their success. They are. That's a coaching thing. When you coach somebody and you work with somebody, their success is not predicated on your success. Their success, you have to be committed to that.
Right.
As a coach.
Right.
As a speaker, I look at this two ways. I can inspire you with my story, but I want to empower you to change your story. So I inspire with my story, but I empower to change your story. And you have to know the difference between the two. Some people think they're empowering and they're just inspiring. And inspiring is great. Oh my God, I love your story. I'm wowed by you. Yeah, but if there's no change in my life.
You're not showing how.
Right. And I don't think people know the difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Some of the intellectuals get it. Some of them don't. Some people can read through the nonsense. I love when real hard, difficult people that people know are just like no nonsense. I love when they're able to talk with me and realize like, damn, this guy's actually pretty cool. Because I know that they saw my heart. I know that they saw behind the speaking, the profile, the success, the whatever it is that attracted you or whatever might or might not, they get to see an authentic person. And so for me, I feel like when I'm working with somebody and I'm offering them, and I recently had a guy, it kind of pissed me off, but, and the reason why, I'll tell you why he did. Because he said to me, I want to work with you. He called me like 11 o'clock at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, messaging me. And I was like, okay, he knew that I was working with somebody else. And I said, okay, I hear what you want. So I had to ask him the $1 million question. I said, what's your budget? Oh, just send me a proposal. What's your budget? I said, okay, I'm going to send you this, but I need to know where you want to go. Doesn't get back to me a few days later. And then he's like, I don't have the budget right now. I said, you know what's interesting to me? What's interesting to me is that you couldn't answer the one question that I asked you. I didn't ask you anything else. You couldn't answer that question. Well, you are a real professional. I didn't want to offend you, is what he said. And I said, you can't offend me. I know my worth. You can't offend me. And I wasn't trying to be difficult. I was like, you can't offend me. I said, but I appreciate your thoughts, right? Somebody like that, I have to get better at because I genuinely want to help people. And I'm like, you know what? We got to be able to Somebody like that I needed to have this conversation. But the thing is, I didn't have a face-to-face conversation. It was all via text, and we got on a call, and I thought he was going to be one of these folks, and a great guy, nothing negative to say, but I think it was a lesson for me that sometimes I either have to tell him, here's what it is. I have to tell them, are you ready to make a decision right now? Or I have to compel them, hey, go watch this, go see this. And then if you know how I work, then you come work with me. So I think I've gotten to the point where I understand, because selling is not about worth, it's about value.
Right.
Right? I tell people worth is what you give yourself. Value is what other people give you when you understand how much you're worth.
Man, you're so good. You have all these like tidbits of knowledge that is so good, like gems. That was a good one.
Thank you. You know how I developed that? I developed that because I would struggle on stage to get my thoughts together. So I said, create sticky notes. These are what I call mental sticky notes. That's it.
How did you stick them in your head?
When I get a sticky note, I literally sit down, write it out, I say it, and then I post it. And I want to see how it resonates with other people. And then I'll send it to a few people. Here's what I'm trying to say. How could I say this better? How could I say less with more words? How could I say more with less words? Because all the big speakers have those moments.
Right.
They have a message and a pause button. And then you have to let it breathe. Then you have to let them think about it. Sometimes when speakers are going so fast, I can't catch it.
Right.
Slow down. Let me feel what you're going to say. Because if I remember one or two things, great. Most people don't remember anything about a message, a sermon, a talk, but they'll grab one or two sound bites, one or two sticky notes, and they'll walk away with it.
Lately, have you been using AI for that?
Yes. So here's what happens. AI has helped me take the thoughts that I already had and then build on it.
Right.
That's it.
That's
Right.
its purpose, right?
That's what its purpose is. And I love the fact that I can prompt AI with how I think.
Yes.
So it's not thinking for me. It's just taking my thought and refining it.
Yes.
Right? So I've been posting on X, and I love Threads, and then I'll turn it into on LinkedIn, or I'll do it on Instagram or Facebook. But these are thoughts that have always been running through my head. Like someone told me you should write a book on like one-liners, right? So I recently developed a thing called the 5-minute message builder. And it's a workshop that we do. And I literally created an ebook or a guide from this.
5-minute message builder.
The 5-minute, you got 5 minutes. How do you build your message in 5 minutes? The truth is that you really need to do it in like a minute and a half, 3 minutes. But if you had 5, what would it look like? If you had a powerful question, if you had a topic, takeaway, talking points, and take action, what would it look like? I put everything in a framework. I have to. Because our lives are made up of a bunch of equations.
Right.
Like this plus this equals this.
Right.
So if I can remember it, it's much easier for me to just scroll, okay, this is what we're talking about. Like I have to have a mental Rolodex because I'm a speaker. So if I stay ready, I don't have to get ready, right? For this podcast or for a speaking engagement. Somebody said, Benny, I want you to speak tomorrow. I'm ready. I don't need to pray about it. I don't need to think about it. I need to see if I can make it, right? Other than that, this is what we do.
Right.
So part of, as a speaker, your responsibility is to consistently grow your skill set and your craft, to consistently be communicating effectively. And that doesn't always look like you just talking a lot. I'm not here to just talk. I'm here to communicate a message. And everything that I do has to bring alignment with that. And so some people who, and it's interesting, one of the biggest challenges that I find with a lot of people who want to speak is they're posting one thing and saying a whole nother thing. There's no alignment.
Give me an example.
Yeah, so somebody would say, perfect example. So I was saying to me, I really want to speak and help women and entrepreneurs. And I'm like, what is your social media only about real estate then? It says nothing about that. Well, I'm just waiting for my opportunity. I'm like, this isn't it then. Talk about what you talk about. bring alignment.
You're gonna keep on waiting.
Right. So the tough part is that the people don't know how to connect the dots. Our lives, since we were children, have been plotting on this canvas. And we got to do this. We got to make sense of the image. But because you leave certain dots out in your life, you're missing something. You're like, where do I go here? Where do I go next? And you haven't been able to figure it out. I talk to people who are 45, 50, 60, still trying to figure out what is my purpose.
Wow.
They haven't connected the dots. And since we're children, life is giving us evidence and clues. But you know what we do with that? We kind of stuff it away. We kind of put it in the attic. We kind of drop it in the basement. I've learned to take the clues with me and look at it as evidence of who I'm supposed to be.
But I think it goes back to what you said earlier, right? Revelation is seeing what's in front of you.
Seeing for the first time what you've been looking at for long. Exactly.
Yes. People don't see it.
100%. That's it. Yep.
Incredible. So I'm assuming that when you get on stage, you're not scripted. I'm assuming that you have a set of parameters that you want to hit, certain points that you want to hit, and then you go off of that. Is that right?
Yeah, I have what I call a signature talk.
Okay.
And I have what I call a center stage message.
Got it.
Center stage message is what I created. And I said, listen, yeah, you can have a signature talk. It's got your story, it's got your intro, but talk to me about your message. Like, because if you have a center stage message, I believe you can create a podcast, you can write an ebook, you can do a course, you can deliver a keynote, a workshop, a retreat, a seminar. Let's get grounded in this, in what your message really is, and let it sprout out from there.
We're gonna have to work together, Benny. We're gonna have to work together.
You heard it here, right? Look at that camera.
The more you're talking, I'm like, fuck.
But that's the thing. It's like, I realize that you have to do that, because if you don't get grounded in that, right, you don't get really clear in that, you're going to be all over the place. And so as a speaker, I've embraced this part of who I am. Here's the reason why. When I named my business, I named it That Coaching Guy. I'm in the process of like this rebrand as well. And somebody said, why are you that coaching guy? You're really that speaking guy. I was like, damn it, you're right. And then I looked up, that speaking guy was taken, but still, I found it to be, and this is where, because a lot of my background is in organizational leadership and development. So that's my training, that's my education. That's what companies also bring me in for, to do their consulting. And I'm listening at a high level. I'm listening for the problems. And I wasn't always a good listener. But you and I know the most powerful tool we have as communicators is our ability to listen.
Yes.
And so when I started to listen, I became a better speaker. I started to listen to my audience. I started to listen to the market. I started to listen to the things that I was even ignoring. And say, how do I become better at delivering this message? How do I get grounded? So I feel like when I take a stage or when I'm sharing a message, it keeps me focused. It keeps me grounded. And I kind of know, not so much a script,
right,
but I know what I want to talk about. I know how to embody the audience. I know how to take in the energy. I know how to feel the room. I know how to set expectations. I know how to ask a powerful question that resets everything. There's so many skill sets that we have that we use on a day. I know how to intrude at the right time. These are things that I've learned by doing it wrong and then figuring it out, okay, this is the right time, and seeing it in other people. I study speakers, and I watch them, and I'm like, the way you did that was great. Yeah, I know you didn't notice, but I noticed, right? I could tell in their first few minutes, not if it's good or bad, but are you going to take me on a journey, or is this what kind of journey is this going to be?
Right.
Do we have a roadmap, or is it like, everyone run for the run for the gate? So yeah, I feel like in my mind, I've created these like mental neural pathways
Right.
so that I can better show up.
How long would you say within your career that it took you to get comfortable, to get to a place where you're like, all right, I have a really, really high set level of skills that I've learned, that I've been through, that I've failed, and I've remastered it, and now I'm really comfortable with it?
When I did the talk back in 2018, it was a mic drop. I did a talk called Shame on Me. Okay? And that was what opened it up for me. I saw myself differently. The moment you see yourself differently is when you make the change. I don't know what time that takes. It took me going through a period of addiction. It took me through a period of almost losing everything, through periods of self-discovery. Not everybody has to go down that route.
Right.
So you may get there sooner. That's why when I see young leaders who are doing this and want to, I want to partner with them. Because I'm like, oh, you got there faster than I did. Damn it. You know what I mean? Like, you're good. You know what I mean? And some people you realize, but like, man, when will you get there? So because it's a journey, you and I know it all depends on your speed. It all depends on what you discover.
Right.
It took me, over 20 years to get to that point. I was always a good speaker. Any job that I had, any career, whether it was ministry, nonprofit, corporate, what was the number one thing that people could say is, man, Benny's a great communicator. So I had to listen. I remember asking people, hey, what am I really good at? And what am I great at? Like, you're really good working with people, but you're great at speaking. And that's what I had to focus on. And I had to ask honest people who knew me,
Right.
who've been on a journey with me. And sometimes we just don't journey along enough with people for them to really give us the truth about who we are.
It's true.
Yeah.
And they have their own bullshit about it also.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, what a journey you've been on in 20 years, huh?
Yeah.
How many people would you say you've touched and helped?
Well over 200,000.
That's incredible.
Yeah. All I did for 4 years was travel as a speaker in the schools. All I did was speak in churches where it was 2,000, 3,000. I got on TV, I spoke. I was a national speaker for a circuit. Then I started to create my own content. Then I started to go out there in different circuits. And I mean,
Wow.
I think I've actually coached well over 2,500 people, because as a coach, we have to document that. With ICF, you have to document how many
Right.
people you coach and you work with. And so I've delivered probably 3,000 coaching sessions, about over 20,000 hours of training. Like, it's crazy.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Like I could put something together like this. I just talked to somebody recently, and she was like, I said, well, she goes, what can you speak on? I said, what haven't you spoken on? She goes, oh, I haven't spoken about that. I said, so that's what I'll speak on. She goes, you could do that? I said, yeah, why not? She goes, well, tell me what topic. I just sent her the topic right before I came here. And I have to, my role and responsibility that I feel to myself is to always be innovative and creative. This is my creative gift. I use words to create. I use storytelling to create. I use personality to create. That's my gift. And the more that I've embraced that, the more I can step into it, the more I just feel like I'm flowing with it. And I love it. I get excited every time I get an opportunity to speak. And I love people who don't know me. I'm like, yes. They're like, oh, I feel so uncomfortable. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is an opportunity to wow people. Like,
Yes.
like embrace it. Embrace the challenge. Embrace the uncomfortableness. It will make you a great speaker.
That's a good one. Embrace the uncomfortableness.
Yeah.
Because it does get uncomfortable, because people
100%.
look at you, they put you on a pedestal.
100%.
You know?
Yeah, I recently spoke in Coral Gables to a company. So it's funny, met this gentleman at a cigar lounge. It's like 20 minutes. A friend of mine introduces me to him. And he's like, we're looking for a speaker. And his friend's like, yeah, right here. It's like, you speak? I say, yeah, I speak. I said, literally while we're talking, I know I'm listening, I'm hearing. I send him my speaker one page. At 1:30 in the morning, he sends me, here's what I have for my budget. Can you come speak? I said, yes, I'll come speak. Literally in 20 minutes, we locked that speaking deal. I just was there last week, Friday. Followed up with a real good email. Shout out ChatGPT for the email. But from that, that's an opportunity to do consulting, coaching, be their coach for their company. Like, I use speaking in multiple ways. It's one, to inspire people, but also to work with companies long term, to work with thought leaders and professionals who really want to make an impact in the world.
What do you think gave him the confidence to meet you and hire you like that?
I think I just asked the right questions. If you ask the right questions, you'll get the right answer. And some people are afraid to ask the question because they think they don't have the right to ask the question. So when you're with somebody who's powerful and somebody who you better ask the right question. Actually, the right question is almost better than the right statement because it shows how you think. And so I always tell people, anytime that you're networking or you're out there, have a list of questions that you can formulate when you're talking to that person.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean? So I think I asked the right question. I asked them, so what are you trying to do, right, in this season with your people? I told them, tell me your 3 biggest challenges right now that I could come in and talk about. Oh, yeah. Okay, done. Got it. Here's the topic, 3 keys to customer service. Okay, why that? I said, here's the reason why. Because what I'm really hearing is that you want them to get your heart about how they show up with their customers. Well, in order for us to do that, let's talk about some doors they need to unlock. Love to talk. His VP loved to talk. And it was great. It was only like 45 minutes, but it opened so many other doors for me. But I think you have to listen at a high level. In active listening, there's 3 levels. There's what it means to me, there's what it means to you, and there's what it means to us. I'm always listening for the us. Because if I just think about what it means to me, his industry has nothing to do with me. I could care less about his industry because I'm not in it. But if I understand what it means to us, I realize, oh, here's the value I can add to that industry, to that conversation, so that his people can grow. And so I think I'm always just listening at a different level.
What's really impressive about you, Benny, is that you're able to speak about anything at any time. Just give you the topic and I can see you going. Like, I've met a lot of speakers who are niche down, right? They know this topic, this niche, that's what they speak about. I see you as multifaceted. Like, I'll give you like stem cells. Go talk about
Damn it, you got a topic I don't know about.
I think you'll figure it out and you'll knock it out the park.
Yeah. I think in any conversation, I'm always looking for the main objective. Like, what are we talking about? And is there something about this? And I feel like when I hear a topic, I guess I'm so connected to who I am. I feel like the story just pops up. Oh, yeah. Oh, remember when you heard this? I trust myself enough already that if I don't know it, I'll get the answer.
That download.
That's it. Either I have it or I don't. And if I don't have it, I know how to get it.
Who would you say are some of your speaking mentors that you followed growing up, that you looked up to, that you try to emulate yourself?
Yeah. I think one of them, I tend to not get wowed by fame. Like, that's just not me. I would say if there was somebody famous, and then I'll go someone in my family and then someone who mentored me, T.D. Jakes, amazing orator, communicator. His way to take a story and make it relevant and applicable and spiritual and relational is powerful. I would say he's a person who I looked at and watched not what he did, but how he did it.
That's awesome.
How did he take that story and make sense of it? Oh, how did he stress that point? Like sometimes we give a good gem and then we like go on to the next. Well, no, stay there. Give me more. Give me more context. Give me more content, right? Give me something that, so I feel like I watch speakers. And here's the thing, you don't need to be famous to be great. That's what I love about this. I've learned from people like my son. My son has a way, when he gets ready to speak, he does, all right, Dad. Like he does this thing.
What's his name?
Nehemiah.
Nehemiah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Nehemiah.
That's my guy right there. But I watch him and I'm like, okay, when he does something, he pulls my attention a certain way. Repetition, right? So when other people do something, you kind of know, oh, they're about to drop the hook right here. Oh, they're about to say this, and you pick up on it. That's how you know somebody could, like, speaking is like a plane ride. You're on the runway, right? How do you take off? When you take off, how do you get to a cruising altitude? When you get to a cruising altitude, how do you deal with the turbulence? When you deal with the turbulence, how do you get prepared for landing? And when you land, right, how do you hit the brake?
What an awesome analogy.
So that's how I see a message. Most people are on the runway, they never get off. There's no flight plan. I don't know where the hell we went. I just heard you for 30 minutes and I was lost. And so for me, it's all this is actually in my academy. I actually recorded a video on this, and I like as I was envisioning, what's the easiest way for somebody to envision their message? Because the turbulence in your message and in your story is what people look for. You know, how did you overcome that? How did you fight the villain?
Right.
How did you overcome that obstacle? You know, you were here, but now you're here. You failed, but now you succeeded. That tension, the turbulence in the story is everything, right? And so, yeah, I feel like when it comes to delivering our messages and really giving it to folks, I feel like there is a way to do that. And so I think I'm always trying to learn that still. You know, I'm always trying to perfect it. I don't feel like I got it all together. I feel like I'm always learning. I think that's what excites me the most, is that I feel like I'm a student of it. And so because because I'm able to watch people, I learn from them. I learned from, you know, my grandmother, who was a great speaker. My grandmother knew how to shift the conversation like this. And you could see it and you could feel it, right? I know some people are like, oh, it's Tony Robbins, it's this. Like, they're great, but maybe because I'm a speaker myself, I'm not gonna sweat them. You know, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, they're my favorite. That's not how I feel. Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that's my own ego. I don't know. You know, but I've never been that person. I've never been one. I want to learn from everyday people, because those are real conversations I'm having.
Right.
I know it's great to be at the 30,000 foot level, but I'm also on the ground with everyday people, with business owners and executives and leaders. And so I know that it's great to do that and to be high in the sky, but some of them are just trying to get off the ground
And take off.
So I have to be there. So I learn from the everyday experience. I learn from the podcast. I learn from the Instagram. I learn from these things. And to me, that's my teacher. That's how I learn.
Where do you see Center Stage in the next 5-10 years? Where do you want it to be?
Yeah. I want it to be a brand that is not only about putting people on stages, but it's about putting people into their spotlight. It's about people stepping into their superpowers, whether that's books, courses. You know, right now we have an opportunity, like I was sharing with you, to white label a studio space. I would love to one day have my own studio, my own creative studio. I never used to envision that, but I do now. I see it now.
Yeah. You definitely need one.
Yeah.
You have more control.
Yeah, exactly. More control. I see Center Stage as a brand that can compete with some of the other brands out there, the Speaker Labs, the Pete Vargases, the Grant Cardones. You know what I mean? Like, that's, I don't have to do what they do, but they can't do what I do. And that, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I just have to be consistent, show up, do good business, offer a great service, walk with integrity. I think if those things are present, it just takes time. And so I want Center Stage to be a brand that people can trust and that people really feel like my life was transformed because I stepped into my spotlight.
It's powerful. What message would you say to someone who wants to be a speaker, is considering it, but is on the fence about it?
Yeah. I think if you want to consider, you and I said this earlier, is that the stage speaks to you.
Yes.
You can envision yourself doing it. You can see yourself doing it. And the question then becomes is what's holding you back? And finding the support you need. Some people may need to meet with a therapist. Nothing wrong with that. Some people may need a coach. Nothing wrong with that. Some people may need a course. Nothing wrong with that. You have to find what's going to work for you and motivate you to step out so that you can find who you are as a speaker. Also, find the creative way. You and I talked about this even earlier. You found this as an avenue to like really build that confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So, and here's the truth. Some people are not good on stage. I don't care how much training you got.
Right.
But some people are great in a small group setting. Some people are great in front of a camera. So I think in today's market, you have to really find yourself. I'm good in front of a camera. I'm good in front of a podcast. I may not be good on TV. I don't know. You know, I may not, but because I've been doing this for so long.
I highly doubt that.
I
highly doubt
because
that.
I've been doing this for so long and I was doing it before we had the social media.
Right.
I feel like I got a lot of that stuff. And so how do I take that and train this generation? How do I step into that superpower confidently and boldly and not get in my own way? Not get distracted by other people who may look more successful and have more things and have bigger followers.
Right.
Like, I can't get distracted with that. I have to really stay on a mission. And I like to say this, that when you understand your assignment, then you understand your alignment. Another one-liner, right? If you understand your assignment, you understand your alignment, you understand everything is positioned the way it's supposed to be.
Whoever told you that you need a book, you need a book.
You need a book? Okay.
You need a one-liner book.
I'm working on it.
Book.
Yeah.
Do you see a difference in the generations as to comfort level of speaking or wanting to speak more or less versus like millennials, Gen Z, Generation X? Is that a thing or no?
Yes and no, right? Because I think today's content is really about, it's very flashy still.
Yeah.
Very flashy. It's not rooted in intellect. It's rooted
Look at me.
Yeah. It's more of like not who you are, but what you have.
Right.
And so I feel like there will come a point where somebody may mature into that. But I look at some people who have been doing it for a while and I'm like, man, you still haven't grown up, but people still love it. So I think it's almost like dating, right? Like there's somebody for everybody, right? And so there's a speaker for everybody. There's people who like certain content and they like it that way because for them, that's how they see themselves. And so I think knowing that is not a bad thing. That means there's an audience for you. It may not be my audience, but that's
Right.
okay. I'm not meant for everybody. You're not meant for everybody. That person's not meant for everybody. So I think the moment we stop trying to be for everything, all things for everybody, I think we actually start finding who we vibe with our tribe.
Yes.
Right?
And they vibe back.
And they vibe back with you. Start there. Start there. And if you can figure out there's your industry, your audience, and your market, this is what David Newman says in his book called Do It Speaking. He says, an industry will listen. No, an audience will listen to you, but a market will pay attention.
An audience will listen to you,
but a market will pay attention. Right? And I feel like that's really it. A lot of people are doing things that are very industry driven. Right?
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. So so your audience, right? Your audience right now can be anybody. I can go out in the middle of Las Olas and say, "Hey, everybody, I got a message," and I'll draw an audience. Doesn't mean they're my market.
Right.
When you're specific and you're targeting your market, you have to get refined. You have to get clear. Some people get niched down and they get very boxed. I'm multi-hyphenated. And I've accepted that about myself. And I love that because there's been people along the journey that I listened to, marketing guys and social media guys, and I should have never listened to them. And that was my fault. I don't blame them. I blame me because I was looking for validation. And so I fed them what I wanted to hear. That was completely my fault.
I've done that so many times,
Oh,
Benny.
yeah. That was all me.
I've done that so many fucking times.
When people are like, "Oh, I listened to bad advice." Yeah, dummy, you asked the wrong question.
Yeah.
Like, no wonder why you got that advice. I could look back at moments of my life and in my business where I realized I was thirsty, not hungry. I was looking for something to fill me.
I was thirsty, not hungry. Man, that's going to be a good one-liner book.
But that's the truth. I felt like I was thirsty. Oh, give me something. What do you think about this?
Right.
And it just threw me off. And it delayed me. I think the number one key, if I could say anything on this, if you ever want to be a great speaker, learn to listen to yourself. Learn to listen to what's in your heart. Learn to listen to what God put in your heart. Because nobody can take that away. And if you know that, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, thinks, criticizes, judges. You got haters, spectators, you got critics, you got skeptics.
Yeah.
You need all of them. You need all of them to be a great speaker. Because if you're not tested, you can't be trusted. You got to be trusted. You got to go through some shit sometimes, man. And it's okay. And still love Jesus. like okay, yeah, you made it through it.
Do you still do sermons?
I still do.
I can
Once
tell.
in a while.
I can tell.
Yeah,
I can tell.
I actually did. Actually, you know, it's been a while. It's been a while, man. That's a whole. This is about to go to podcast number 2. Jeez, it's been a while since and I loved, but man, the anxiety that I had doing a sermon prep, man, you're talking about. I would have a Bible, a commentary, a dictionary, and my laptop, and I would be up for hours studying.
Wow.
I would not be able to sleep. It was a whole different level of anxiety.
Why do you think?
I think because I wanted to be
Perfect? Yeah.
I wanted to be flawless. I never want to feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. And so I would put myself through this process that was very unhealthy. And a lot of that was just rooted in my own fear because I graduated college late when I was 33. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be the first one, but I always felt like I was never educated enough. I believed the lie in the label. And when I got the college degree, I was like, okay, this didn't change anything. like I'm still the same person, but when it got like just a bigger bill, you know what I mean? Now,
100%.
So I think in that sense, I felt like, like I recently did a sermon. It wasn't even a sermon; it was more like a message. But I do one. I'm part of this thing called the 5 a.m. Prayer Club. It's really cool, and we'll give
5 a.m. You said
5 a.m. Prayer Club
with Drew.
Yeah, yep.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. So we're on it, and it was one of these things where it actually felt really organic because I didn't want to do it so that people could applaud me anymore.
Okay.
I want to do it because I genuinely just love communicating.
And you're up every day at 5 a.m.
Every day
on that call.
No, I'm up at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Time you go to bed?
Not early enough. I got kids. I try to get to bed a little early. I probably need to get to bed like around 10. My wife would probably say 9:30, but I sleep when I'm tired. I've always been that way.
Yeah.
And I get excited when I wake up. Like I'm breathing again.
One more day.
One more day. Like, oh, I get to do this again. Oh, cool. That's how I see it. Because
That's awesome.
life is so short.
It really is.
It's so short, man.
And precious.
Yeah. It's so like, that's why you can't waste your time being mad and angry. If you're gonna forgive somebody, forgive them. They don't need to know. Only God needs to know. Just move on. Forgive, move on. Heal, then you can forgive, move on.
Yeah.
Whatever process. I'm not just saying
right.
when people are like, get over it. No, you got to get through it before you get over it. Right?
Feel it.
Yeah, you got to get
Deal
through
with
it.
it, yes.
Right. Whatever it is that you got to get through it.
Yeah.
But don't let that be the reason why you don't become the best version of yourself.
Don't get stuck there, right?
Yeah, don't get stuck there.
Yeah.
And so I think that all of these are relevant to how we show up as speakers, communicators, influencers, business professionals. Like everything is, that's what I'm saying. Everything is interconnected.
Yeah.
There's not like, oh, this only works over
Especially
here.
today in 2025, it's all interconnected.
All
Everything,
interconnected.
in every way.
Right. But that's the emotional intelligence that we now have been given permission to bring into the conversation. Before we weren't.
Right.
We compartmentalized everything, and so nothing made sense.
Benny, probably a tough question, but if you could give me one tip that can help somebody on stage, what would it be?
One tip. Help somebody on stage. Asking yourself, what question do I need to answer for this audience? What's the one question that I need to answer for this audience?
That's important.
It's huge, man. People don't know what you're talking about until you introduce the topic.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who they are. Sometimes it doesn't matter who's sitting there. If you have a topic that you know speaks to people's truth and reality, make sure you answer that question. Make sure that you've done your due diligence to fact check, to support, to validate, and again, it doesn't take long.
Right.
You can get that done in 5 minutes. That's why I told you about the whole 5-minute message builder.
Yeah.
You can get it done in 5 minutes. Right? So I think is go into it knowing what question you need to answer. And you should know it. When people are like, oh, the audience didn't get me, you're probably right. They didn't. They didn't get it. Because you probably didn't deliver it.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so important because I think a lot of people get on stage and forget what they're doing up there.
Oh yeah, and here's the thing, if you've not practiced, and this is why we have our event called Center Stage, this is why I have my community, because people need to hear different angles and different perspectives. They just think, well, I'm gonna go up there and if I'm confident, if I feel good, man, I've seen some really confident people just lose the whole audience. And it wasn't that they weren't personable or funny. It was like, what was the direction? You thought you needed an hour when really you needed 20 minutes. You spent 40 minutes wasting my time.
Blabbering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Filling the space. That, like, I've seen that. I'm like, dude, that was a 10-minute talk, and you just spent 15 minutes on it. You could have done that differently. So I think for me, I'm always trying to shut down the person who is analyzing. I won't say critiquing, because I normally won't tell people, but I have at times. I've been like, hey, I don't know if you made it. I don't think I know. Well, what do you think about it? Like, ooh, don't ask me that question. Like, I'm not the guy to ask for that, because I'll tell you exactly what I think. But I want to see people win at it because it's such a powerful tool. Yeah.
Is there someone you've seen out there that's wowed you? You're like, man, that person's good.
Oh, yeah. Who's wowed me recently? I mean, there are people I like. I like Tim Story. Tim Story's a good one.
He's very good.
Very good at what he does.
He's very good.
I would say,
I actually saw him at Epic Talks.
yeah. Yeah, he's great. I mean, we want to bring him out for my event. A guy named Mark Efron. Mark Efron is a really good speaker as
I've
well.
heard of him, yeah.
Yeah. These are some local folks.
Yeah.
I would say, I'm trying to think, I try not to, it's hard to, politicians are they're good talkers,
They are.
but I feel like I'm always looking for authenticity. So for me, there's that stigma that what they're saying really isn't authentic. So I just kind of think, I don't even waste my time. But there are great people out there. I mean, whether you like somebody or not, if they're a good communicator, they're a good communicator. You don't have to like them for them to be good and influential.
How good is Trump?
Oh, man. He's really good. I think he's a master marketer.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he can think on his feet. I think he is, I don't know if he's intelligent, but I know he's smart.
There's a huge difference.
There's a huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's intelligent, but he's smart. And he knows how to redirect. He knows how to say the right thing. He understands the power of influence. And he leverages it to his success.
Very well,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, whether somebody agrees with him or not,
Right.
you can't deny what you see.
No. And the other side, Obama, also a great speaker.
Oh my God, Obama.
Phenomenal.
Obama had your heart.
Yes.
Trump gets your head. Yeah. So there's different ways that you can
Right,
communicate.
right.
And I think part of it, the sooner you find how you connect with people, the easier it is to then start figuring out, okay, how do I stay in this space?
Right.
How do I leverage this energy? Because if you could do that, you'll take someone on a journey.
You'll own it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I'm not a fan of some of the things that come out of his mouth. The way, again, now as a speaker, we say it's not what you say, but how you say it. I think people forget to bring that into the conversation when it comes to, because some of the way that it's being said is not always, there's the EQ and the IQ sometimes missing.
Right.
And again, that's just my perspective, my opinion. Because I value those things. I value emotional intelligence. I value consideration. I value those things. And so really a speaker is all about what you value. Are they speaking to your values? Oh, I love what you said. Well, why did you like what I said? Because it's your value. You understand me? Oh, I love that story. And then they start to tell you their story. Value. So that's what I think it is.
Let's end on a note. Excuse me. Let's end on a note with family.
Yes, sir.
How important is being a father to you? And what does it mean to be a family man?
Yeah. Being a father is everything. I love being a dad. There's no greater joy than being a dad. I see my son. I see my daughter. My daughter's 6 years old, and she is like, I took her yesterday to ballet. She had ballet yesterday. And it was so interesting because I'm already seeing, okay, she's a performer. Mm-hmm. It's like the cycle continues.
It's in the genes.
Yeah. My son, so I think to me, I can be whoever I want on camera in a podcast studio and on a stage, but they know the real Benny.
Right.
They know my faults, my flaws, my failures. They know my fatherly love. They know all that stuff. So I can't talk my way out of that.
No.
Right? It's important. Like, I've been so busy, I recently had to sit my kids down and just be like, I'm sorry that I haven't been present like I need to. I said, and my son said this to me. He goes, Dad, I feel like you give sometimes your business more attention than us. And I was like, and I understand where he was coming from. He's coming from a place where when he comes home from school, he doesn't understand that I'm still doing calls. So he wants me to be like, drop everything. But he doesn't count the 3 hours I do basketball practice. But the truth is that really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't. Because what matters is what he's saying right now.
Right.
And I have to listen. And so I said, okay, you know what? I'll be more attentive when we're around dinner time. I'll try to push off any calls for later or tomorrow. Like, I have to get better at that. I think part of my drive and the way that I'm just wired is that, like, I'm just very driven.
That balance.
Yeah. And so having a spouse that we have tough conversations, man. Hey, this is what's working, this is what's not working. You know, how are our schedules matching up? We got to go through our schedules. Hey, what does this week look like? How do I do this? How do I balance today? I'm going to be gone today.
Right.
How am I there tomorrow? And Saturday, we got to think on Saturday. And then Sunday, we got, so I think that's important for my wife as well, because I can't be who I am if she's not who she is.
Right. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'd love to think that I just came up with this idea of how great. No, you have to have somebody great alongside you. Somebody makes a sacrifice.
Right.
And
sharing the load.
Yeah. And sometimes I'm just selfish. Very selfish.
Yeah.
And I realize that I have to consistently, selfish in the sense that my wife's like, hey, can you fix the drawer? I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it like 3 weeks later. And I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, that's the one thing. If I do that, she won't complain, right? So let me go do that, right? So I think part of that is those are the small things that let her know that she's just as important.
Right. Just as valued.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's always a work in progress, but it's everything. It's so important. It's crucial to your success. It's crucial to how you show up and trying to find that day-to-day balance.
It's why you work so hard.
Yeah, it is, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Benny, I could talk to you all day, man. You're an incredible person.
Man, like, you too, man. I mean, geez. Great questions over here.
Thank you, man.
It is awesome, and I'm looking forward to learning more about you and connecting more with you. And
please,
there's
100%.
a lot more things I'm sure we'll do together.
100%.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Look at that camera. Let everybody know where they can find you. IG, Facebook, coaching program, website, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. Well, you can find me on social media at Coach Benny Salas, on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. You would look for me at Benny Salas or Benjamin Salas. We have programs called Center Stage, which is our in-person events, Speak More Academy, which is our community, as well as we do companies, corporations, and businesses to help them grow their leadership communication. And so you can go to BennySalas.com for all things speaking, coaching, and training related.
Incredible. Guys, if you are trying to if you are a speaker, if you're a coach, if you're an influencer, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're anyone that has to present themselves, get with Benny. He's going to get you right. Follow him, follow us, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and we'll see you guys next time.